Willis Wu dreams of life in the spotlight, but will becoming Kung Fu Guy be as life-changing as he thought? Or will achieving his dream be a crushing disappointment? Will Willis finally become the main character of his own story? Listen in as Katie and Christie discuss Interior Chinatown, the public library of Mount Vernon and Knox County's NEA Big Read pick.
Hi, welcome to What Are You Reading? A podcast with the public library of Mount Vernon and Knox County. I'm Christy.
And I'm Katie.
And today we have a really special title. So the Public Library of Mount Vernon and Knox County was awarded the NEA Big Read grant, and it's a program of the National Endowment for the Arts in partnership with Arts Midwest. Mm-hmm. So we are super excited to be able to bring all of you wonderful programming. If you're local, we're going to have some amazing opportunities available. Mm-hmm. For February, March, and a little bit into April. So be on the lookout for a lot more content on that. Mm-hmm. But our choice this month, as a part of the NEA Big Read for the next little bit, is Interior Chinatown, a novel by Charles Yu, which has now been turned into a Hulu series as well. Mm-hmm. Pretty awesome. And we didn't even know that at the time that it was chosen.
No, we picked this book before Hulu released the series. So happy accident.
Yes, which ended up being amazing. So if you have the ability to watch, I think that's a great companion to this book. But like we said, this is the NEA Big Read book choice for this year. Mm-hmm. Katie and I really, really enjoyed it, and we'll have a lot to say about it. So.
Absolutely. One thing to mention before we get started is the format of this is a little different than what you might be used to. It's kind of written in like a movie script form. So lots of dialogue, which makes it a really quick read.
Yeah.
So, and keeps things moving.
It really does. It went really fast. And I think the audiobook was only like 4 hours and 20 some minutes, something like that. Mm-hmm. So I initially listened to the book, and then went back through with Katie when we were prepping for the pod and realized that the formatting was really important. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those that I definitely encourage both. Of listening and reading the text, because there's a lot that you miss by not having the physical book in front of you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even then, it gets a little tricky because at least at the outset, there seems to be a real life and a scripted show. Mm-hmm. And at some points, it's like, where are we? I'm kind of confused. That's one thing that the Hulu show does differently, because they actually change the color of the camera lens. Mm-hmm. So that way you can tell which is which.
Yes.
So that's something that you do have to do a little bit of close reading just to know where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we had to talk it out, which that's why it's another great pick for our kind of programming, because it gets you talking. It's kind of that water cooler book where you need to crowdsource to see if you're kind of getting the same thing, the same ideas, the same themes as someone else. Mm-hmm. So to tell you all a little bit about this, maybe get you interested in trying it. It follows our main character, Willis Wu, who doesn't see himself as his own main character in his story. Mm-hmm. He is... Well, I'll let Katie kind of set it up because she explained it really well and has some choices in here, quotes.
Oh my gosh. So more or less, like the plot is where it gets a little tricky. Mm-hmm. But it's where he plays an extra. He is Asian, and he plays an extra in all of these shows. Mm-hmm. Because he's an extra, he can kind of float in and out. And he talks about at the beginning of the book that there are different like levels. Mm-hmm. So you start out as like generic Asian man, and then you get to move. ideally you get to move up, and then as you climb the ladder you get lines.
Yeah.
And he at least considers the pinnacle to be Kung Fu guy.
Yeah.
That's just like once you
Hollywood.
become you become Kung Fu guy, you have made it.
Yeah.
And,
it's a really interesting setup because so where Katie and I were kind of like talking it out is that Willis is, it starts out kind of in the restaurant and he's explaining the rules in Hollywood that his dad, started out as like young Asian man. He moved up to Kung Fu guy, which is like the pinnacle, which we think of, and I'll probably be dating myself a little bit, but, you always think of those like amazing Kung Fu movies that we got to see growing up. And then into like the later films like Kill Bill and things like that. So I think we all can kind of visualize a little bit of what that like Kung Fu guy is, little Big Trouble in Little Chinatown, that kind of thing. So he kind of lays that out for us in really interesting ways. And like Katie mentioned, like the formatting in this book is really interesting. And I think it definitely helps you to understand. So it starts out with a quote that says, "If a film needed an exotic backdrop, Chinatown could be made to represent itself or any other Chinatown in the world. Even today, it stands in for the ambiguous Asian anywhere." So that idea of what we see in the films in Hollywood of Chinatown and that kind of thing, it all kind of brings it together into saying this is the role that an Asian American probably has in Hollywood. And Willis is, trying to do something a little different. And he would love to be Kung Fu guy. But he's starting out kind of down here. Which, is a big part of the story.
Yes.
Is his growth and him going from extra to Kung Fu guy and everything in between.
One of the big themes in the book is dreams are great. But there are always going to be forces that are trying to keep you from it. And then when you do finally get it, do you really want it? Because it's never the way that you expect it to be.
Yeah. And
that was something that really caught my attention through all of this. Especially, it is a bit of a critique on Hollywood about how certain actors can appear to only be able to play certain parts. And also one of the things that he talks about his parents and like how they came to America and how they got into the movie business. And his dad was Kung Fu guy, but now he's old Asian man. So that makes
kind of get like that full circle.
Yeah.
Of an actor in Hollywood where you might come in as that like young ingenue, or you're playing these characters that are young. You can do high school until you're 30, in Hollywood. But then eventually you hit that spot where like you're just old, you're just generic old person. And so do they need a grandma? Do they need a grandpa? Do they need like the crazy person that lives in the woods off grid, or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's always those actors that are like character actors.
Yeah. And even so, in relation to his dad, he was Kung Fu guy, and now this is where I'm kind of confused as to whether it's real life or it's the show. But now he's like background guy washing dishes. And that was one thing that I noted in the book. He talks about how his dad was a dragon once, not that long ago, and now he's washing dishes. And it says none of that matters now. None of that counts towards the final tally. Now he's this, a leading man trapped in the body of an extra. Yeah. That applies to so many situations, right? And I don't want to give you guys too many spoilers because I really want you to pick up this book. But there is a reason why Katie and I said that sometimes we were confused about what was happening in real life and what was happening in the script. So that's going to be for you guys to kind of read this, figure it out, and like come talk to us, like let us know what you think down in the comments. And
we would love to hear what your perception is of the films, because of the book. We definitely have some ideas.
Yes, and the two of us have read the book, and our supervisor has seen the series, and all three of us had a different idea of what was happening.
Absolutely. And there's the ending it's a twist, y'all. So like, that's why I'm like, no spoilers. I want you guys to experience that twist for yourself, because I think that it's really important to kind of try to work through it. And then you can, chat about it with your friends. You can look up articles. Like, I actually ended up looking up articles, trying to kind of dissect it. And I'm saying all this, but I want you guys to know that it's very approachable.
Yes.
Like, even though this sounds kind of meta and like really kind of out there, it is so easy to read.
Yes.
Yeah, it really was. Like, and like I said, it's that water cooler book where, like, the next day, Katie and I were basically reading at the same pace, and we kept coming in being like, what do you think about this? What did you think about that?
Yeah.
So what's reality? What's the show? Is any of it real? Is it all the show? So you're never quite sure with Willis. At least I wasn't. Whether we're like off the script, or we're in this case a cop procedural that takes place in Chinatown. Are we in the cop show? Are we in real life? Or where are we?
Yeah, which I think is a testament to how good of a writer Charles Yu is.
Oh, so good.
Because no matter what page you're on, it doesn't necessarily matter whether it's on the screen or not, because it is very believable.
It is.
With the exception of like the two cops, when they're on screen, they're, kind of overly
there's that over the top
in the show. But other than that, like, I could believe any of this happening.
Absolutely. And Katie and I are both huge fans of cop procedural shows. So when Willis is cast in this cop procedural called Black and White, we were like, oh my gosh, we've watched this show. Basically, like, we could think of a million titles that we've watched that it's very similar to. And you catch yourself envisioning, I was like, oh, this is such like a CSI thing. I would see this on that, or High Potential that we love. Like, I could see this on so many scripted shows. So
yeah,
Charles Yu's ability and his knowledge of Hollywood and his writing just really made this so authentic.
Yes. Yes, very believable.
Yeah.
Really interesting read, which I know kind of makes it sound like it's, it's like, oh, well, she has a good personality. Yeah. But this book is very good.
Yeah, it really is. Like, we can attest to it. And I'm so glad that it was the NEA Big Read choice, because this podcast is coming out a little bit after, but we're giving away, copies of this book. We're going to have a lot of programming coming after you guys get to see this. So check our website, www.knox.net, for a full list of all of the programming to do with the NEA Big Read. There's going to be a little NEA Big Read tab on the side of our website, so you can click that and just get the schedule for everything cool that we're going to have that involves this. So definitely check it out. Read along with us. Let us know what you think. Lots of stuff to digest here, and a great conversation piece. And I'd love to know what you guys think of it and what you think of this twist ending.
Yes. Yes, and feel free to answer any of the questions that I posed in the teaser.
Yes.
Comment below, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Feel free to come in and talk to us, because we're librarians. We love talking about books.
We do.
So especially books that we enjoyed reading.
Right, yes. And oftentimes we find great things through the podcast, like things that we typically wouldn't read, or that's a little bit out of our wheelhouse. And I feel like whenever we are, blessed with the NEA Big Read opportunity, it brings me something that I probably wouldn't have grabbed off the shelf. And I don't necessarily know that even with the Hulu show that I would have just been like, oh yeah, that's for me. So I'm really glad that I reached out of my comfort zone and tried something different, and it's really cool. So good. Got me thinking.
Yep.
So I can't wait to hear what you guys think. And hopefully we'll see you all at all of our great Big Read events coming up. So next month in the pod, we'll have another NEA Big Read podcast where we're going to do kind of like a group chat kind of interview thing. And we're going to be discussing companion books that are kind of related to Interior Chinatown or similar. So be on the lookout for that too. Thank you guys for watching and listening as always. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.